It is hard, but it's simple. It really is. And when like I saw this, I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense. And I saw it in action with my private equity firm that I worked for, and that's all they do. So this is kind of like I said, I'm in very M&A mode, mergers and acquisitions mode, because that's what I've been going through a lot right now. My mastermind that I'm now in is a mergers and acquisitions mastermind, so I'm like brainwashed into this is going to work. But what got me interested in this was seeing the people around me. I started meeting people and just like, let me back up. What got me into this was actually when we sold our company and I worked for the corporation. And the corporation that I worked for, we were the eighth company they bought. And I thought it was interesting. I was like, why? So what's going on here? And they're like, yeah, we're buying companies. We're going to roll them all up together and we're going to sell them in 2026 for a big exit. I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense to me, but why? And so then I started seeing it happen. And what I saw and what I learned is what you're going to learn pretty much in these 8 steps. And I saw it happening right before me for 18 months when I worked for them. I was like, this is much easier than what we do. Going from 0 to 1 million is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life. It's a grind. It's hard. It's hard to learn how to sell. And then I saw this and I was like, wow, this is so much easier than what we did. And so I want to walk you through the 8 steps to a $100 million brand. Let me pull up my notes first. But the first thing I want to go over like with this is before you do this, like you need to have core values. We've talked about it over and over again. Your values matter because whatever your values are who is going to attract in your life. And I feel like I have good values. That's why I attract the people that I do in my life. Like Phil just said, like we met and we made a handshake deal that involved tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of its lifetime. And that was all of a handshake. And it's because my core values are there. It's people over profit. I don't care about profit. It will come as long as you choose the people first. And it's integrity first. Always, everything you do should be with integrity. And then we should be exceptional at everything we do. And you should do it autonomously. Like I don't micromanage Chris, Kayla, Justice, Deacon, when I worked with Randy as well. Like I don't micromanage anybody because I trust them to do what they say they're going to do. We tell our team, like, you don't have to work a specific number of hours. You don't have to clock in. You don't have to clock out. All I care about are results. And if you produce results for us, that's all that matters. And that will speak for themselves. Has that got me in trouble? Yeah, it's got me in trouble a little bit, but the core values are there and they attract the people in your life that want to get along the ride with you. So my mission for doing all this is to help the billion people that are blind to like glasses. A simple pair of glasses, a pair of reading glasses that we can buy at the store for $1, you can give to these people in third world countries and it gives them their whole life back. Imagine a fisherman in Jamaica. They're 60 years old. They can no longer line their hook. They become a beggar and can no longer contribute to society. You put a pair of glasses on them, they can now go back to fishing and provide for their family. These are not made up stories, by the way. These are real stories from patients I've seen. Where were we? Ocho Rios 4 years ago. And the manager of the whole Sandals Resort comes in. He's like, I am here because of you guys. And he told us this story that when he was 13 years old, he was getting in trouble at school, pretty much labeled as the troublemaker, and was failing at school. And our clinic came through and got him a pair of glasses. And he was nearsighted. He could only see like here and closer. And now he could see the board. And it completely changed his life. He became an A student. And now he's managing a whole Sandals resort. That is my why. Like when you have those impactful stories, and when you go on these mission trips with me, like he's addicted to him now, he's addicted to him now, she's addicted to him now, like there's nothing else like it. Like I said, when we go, you think you're serving them, they're actually serving you. And they make a bigger impact on you because it makes you stronger in your mission. Your mission is great because you know exactly why you're doing it. And whenever times get tough, the bigger why and the long-term mission is going to get you further. So where are we at with that mission? We've done 36,000 exams. Not a billion, but 36,000, still pretty good. We're going on a trip in 2 weeks. We've done over 18,000 pairs of glasses, 1,000 cataract surgeries, and then a kind of side mission. I don't know why I'm a part of this mission too, but I also like have a heart for children that like to eat and that are like starving. And so we've provided over 600,000 meals for kids since the start of my businesses. And so that's like, those are my two missions: feeding kids, and then the eye care mission, and then also water, like something we take for granted because it comes out of a faucet. We've provided 3 wells for 3 communities in third world countries. So I don't know if you know this, but like there are places where they have to travel carrying 5-gallon buckets miles to then get dirty water that is full of bacteria, to then walk back and they spill half of it. And that's like how they get their daily water. It takes them all day to do it. So we go in and we drill a well in their community, and they no longer have to do that. So they become more productive members of society. So feeding children, water, and then vision as well. So that's why we're doing this. So you have to lead with that. You have to lead with long-term impact. What you want to do. It doesn't have to be as grandiose as like solving the billion-dollar glasses crisis. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something as simple as whatever you want it to be, making a figure skater better. Because you're creating confidence in young women, and that can lead to a life of whatever. So core values, mission, you have to have that baseline, and you have to think long term. You've heard it constantly. Justice and I did not coordinate our talks. He said the exact same thing I did. We're all thinking too short term. We have to think long term. And that's how you do it. So I wanted to get that baseline before I got into this. And I'll kind of give you the 8 steps to a $100 million company. And I hope this should make you guys feel better, and it should not overwhelm you, because it's actually incredibly simple. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to either buy or build a platform company. So Dr. Berry's was our first acquisition. We did it in March of 2024. We did a smaller acquisition. It was $0. We did it. $75,000 was the purchase price. Seller financing over 4 years. We told you guys that earlier. And the collateral was they get the company back. That's it. That business, the primary purpose of that was to make sure Deacon and I could work together. He's not familiar with Amazon. I'm not familiar with working with Deacon. And so we're trying to figure out like how we work together. And we wanted to do that on a smaller scale. Now we're ready to play a little bigger. So what we're trying to do by the end of this year is we're trying to acquire $1 million EBITDA company, $1 million in profit. It can be smaller than that. Our buy box is between 200 and $1 million, but we want to be at $1 million in profit by the end of the year. Will that happen? I don't know. If it doesn't, that's okay, because we have a longer term vision. We have a 10-year vision plan versus a 2 to 3 year vision. So platform company is like step number 1. And you guys probably are building that platform company now. Like it doesn't have to be a company in the future. It could be what you're building this day, today. Could be your podcast. Could be your pet brand. Could be your figure skating brand. It could be anything. Could be your golf brand. And you're creating a golf PPC agency too. So you just never know what's going to happen. But platform company is number 1. Number 2 is mergers and acquisitions. So our goal is when we have this $1 million in profit every year, is we then start buying brands. 10 brands over the next 10 years to get to $10 million in EBITDA. And so instead of building, we're going to build, but instead of building each one from scratch, we're going to buy it. And so our goal with this is if we have $1 million in EBITDA, the next year, in year 2, we're going to buy a company that's a third of that size. So we're going to buy a $333,000 company in EBITDA profit. I know it's not the same thing, but a lot of people don't know what EBITDA is, so I'm just going to say profit and EBITDA interchangeably. And what we're looking for here is we're looking for companies that might be an acqui-hire. So an acqui-hire is just simply, they have a superpower that we don't have. So we find a business that's doing $333,000 in profit on TikTok Shop. But they're not on Amazon, they're not on Shopify. They're probably on Shopify, but we acquire them to then take over TikTok Shop for all of our brands. And then we get them on Amazon and use our superpowers. So Deacon's very good at operations, finance, and Facebook ads. I'm very good at Amazon and Google ads. And so we focus on our strengths while we bring in A players to focus on their strengths. Another example would be a 3PL. We could acquire a 3PL, and now we have a 3PL for our whole thing. We could acquire a manufacturer, bring down our COGS. We could hire somebody that's good on Instagram. We could hire an influencer. We could not hire, but buy. And so when you look at this is going to be a lot of tabs. Hold on. Should have thought this one through. What that looks like is buying a brand that is a third of your size. Looks like this. So in year 2, we'll buy a brand that's, I round these numbers to make it easier. 400,000. We'll buy a brand that's 567,000, 733,000, 967, all the way up. And then in year 10, we'll buy a brand that's 4.67 million. And how that scales is, as our EBITDA scales up, we can buy bigger and bigger businesses. But our whole goal is to acquire businesses that are a third of the EBITDA from where we're at today. But we don't have that platform company yet. We don't think Dr. Barry's has that.
I had 1/3.
What's that?
Why 1/3?
That's what I learned at a conference. And that guy's done a lot more acquisitions than I have. So I was like, that makes sense. And it's just a simple little formula. And I think it just helps you scale slower versus like we have $1 million in EBITDA and then we buy a $5 million EBITDA. Plus, it doesn't shortchange the cash flow. So you could buy it with cash or you can buy it with a loan, but you'll have the down payment and everything because of the EBITDA that you had from the year before. Does that make sense? So let's see. What else you can do? So we've talked about active hiring. You can cross-market. So you'll create a 10% bump just by cross-marketing. So make sure you're staying like in your niche because I can then take my platform company, buy this brand over here, and then I can cross-market their email list. And now, or you can do something like when I ship out a package for this one, I could include a sample from this brand. And you can start to do these cross-market synergies, and then you can do it across all 10 of your brands once you have 10. And that cross-market synergy will create like a 5 to 10% sales bump as a result. Like you could do that because you have 2 brands, cross-market both of them, because there's some similarities to them and you just never know. We've actually done that with agency clients. We've had them cross-market with each other. And we've done it with our own brand too. So he was our 3PL at the time when we had our brand. And we had a couple of our clients in there and we all had similar demographics. And so this also caused chaos too. We had dry eye, which is postmenopausal. And then we also a client of ours had a product for dry down there regions for women. And so we started including a sample of her product in our shipments. And that caused a lot of problems because they're like, you assumed because we have dry eyes, we have this. So we stopped that synergy, but that's an example of what you can do. And so you can cross-market because every time we sent out a Shopify, her product was in it. And every time she sent out a Shopify, our product was in it. So that's how we did that. But be careful. And then also when you acquire people, operational consolidation can occur too. So you don't need an attorney for both. You don't need a CEO for both, a COO for both. You don't need all that. You can hire, like, so the PE firm that I worked for, there's a CEO of all the brands, like that overlooked everybody. And then each brand had like a strategic brand consultant. What do they call it? They called it just a brand manager. And that brand manager was in charge of like 5 brands. And so CEO up here, brand manager, 5 brands. And so you can consolidate a C-suite. You can consolidate attorneys, you can consolidate accountants and CPAs and everything to then decrease your costs, which then increases your profit.
So why do you think aggregators couldn't figure this out?
Are you talking specifically Thrasio?
I mean, several of them have gone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. Because
they didn't have operations.
Realistically, what they were thinking they'll be able to do too.
So they did 2 things wrong. They grew too fast without the operations in place. And so when any kind of turmoil hit, they didn't know what to do as a result. So Thrasio grew incredibly fast to like multi-billion-dollar value, sure. And then they crashed because they didn't have the operations behind it. The aggregators that I've seen that have worked, it's because they focused on operations first and they grew slower. And so I know 2 good aggregators in Austin and they just grew slow. And they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars now, but it's because they took a systematic approach. Thrasio was just like, we raised $1 billion, deploy. And then it was just like, oh, what do we do now that we have all these companies? Oh, we don't know what to do. Oh, China's coming in now and just ruin the market forever for all their brands. And so Go slow is the key thing. Does that make sense? Cool. So step 3 is stay in your lane. So focus on acquiring businesses that are in the same demographic because you want to own their wallet. You want to own every single part of their wallet. And so if I have a dry eye company that focuses on postmenopausal females, what else are they spending money on? Skincare cream, retinol cream, face wash. That's why we went into face wash. We wanted to own every part of their night routine. And that's what we're going to do with the acquisitions. What supplements are they taking? What are they doing? And so staying in your lane is step 3 with this. Step 4 is leverage. Use leverage. So I showed you guys the creativity of our financing, how we sold. And you can do that with any business that you do. 0% seller financing for our first acquisition with Dr. Berry's. There are so many sellers out there that just want to get out in your space. And that's the key, is finding those sellers. Because if you find a distressed seller that is so motivated to sell, you can get really creative with the terms. And so how we're doing it, how we're going to try to do it, is we're going to try to have seller finance the first 10% because you need a down payment for an SBA loan. And then we'll do 90% SBA. That's just one example. So we don't have to put any money down as a result. Seller finances the 10% down payment. The SBA does the other 90% up to $5 million. And so that's one way you can do it. You can also get a working capital loan on your current business of $500,000 from the SBA. You can use that for your down payment. So you can borrow the whole down payment if you want. You don't have to fund it, but you have to show profit on your business first. And so that's the key thing there. You can do other things. You can raise money, of course, and then you don't have a loan at all. So we've talked about that. So using leverage, using other people's money is a huge way to do that.
Last one more question.
Go for it.
So staying in that lane, how do you know if this new product line is going to in fact work for you before you actually make the acquisition? Is there a way you would test it with a proof of concept before you go out and buy it?
You can. But usually you get all that through the due diligence. So like, you don't just go out and buy these companies in a week. Like, you're going to do due diligence on the books. You're going to do it on the Amazon listings. You're going to do it on the Shopify store. You're going to look at the company itself and see how they're selling, see if you can overtake that. But that's where like EBITDA numbers come in. So we're buying companies that are pretty established. 400,000 in profit, 600,000 in profit, 700,000 in profit. Those are big
What I'm
companies.
saying is, how do you know if there's a synergy? I know
There doesn't have to be. I mean, you want it to have synergy, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. We just want to stay in like the supplement range for women over the age of 40. And so it may not be direct synergies, and that's okay, because you're also doing the consolidation. You're maybe doing the acqui-hire. And so these are all benefits of doing M&A. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Cool. Step 5, make sure it's a growing market. You don't want to go into a shrinking market. And so that's an easy Google Trends search. Like, look at that market, see if it's growing. We want to make sure it's growing at least 10% year over year. Our goal is when we acquire a company and as a portfolio of brands, we want to grow 30% year over year. So compound annual growth rate, we want 30%. If we have $1 million this year, in 10 years, you can see the growth of your profit here. And in year 10, we'll have 14 million in profit. And that's just 30% growth year over year through acquisitions and through building. Because remember, we're building these brands too to scale each brand individually, but then we're also buying the brands to build our profit even higher still. Does that make sense so far? I see a lot of quizzical looks, we'll say. Good? Makes sense? And so that's what that looks like. I encourage you guys to come look at this, and if you're confused, I can go over it with you. Number 6 is know your numbers. A lot of us are guilty of not doing this. So average order value, lifetime value, and customer acquisition costs. Those are your 3 main numbers that you need to know, and you need to get really comfortable with those numbers. Lifetime value, simply how much are they going to spend over the lifetime of them being a client or customer of yours? And so know that. No average order value. I've heard a lot of people say their average order value is $50, $60. That's great. And you want to keep your CAC below that for the most part. But if you're in hyper growth mode, you can raise that CAC higher. And when you raise that CAC higher, you want to keep it below your lifetime value. But when you raise that customer acquisition cost higher, you're going to acquire more customers as a result. We went from $360 a month to $500,000 a month because we took our CAC and we exploded it through the roof all the way up to our lifetime value number, which is like $300. And that's how we got to 500,000 really quickly. We weren't profitable. We were at $0 profit, but that's why we did it. It's because we were just trying to acquire customers as fast as possible. And whoever spends the most to acquire a customer is going to win every time. And so we just wanted to get in front of more people and more people. And so we're going to know these numbers in each brand for each product and then really focus on that. With Dr. Berry's, we know which channels cause which CAC. Don't ask me off the top of my head. It's in a spreadsheet somewhere. And we look at it every week. And so we know Google Ads is like a $30 CAC. And PPC on Amazon is like a $20 CAC. And so knowing your customer acquisition costs, knowing your lifetime value, knowing your average order value is how you can scale faster. And a lot of us ignore these numbers, but you have to if you want to scale to $100 million or even to $10 million. Number 7 is double down on what works. We talked about it. That is my emotional cycle of change curve again, because it is that important. Shiny object syndrome is real. We all get distracted. We all go after the shiny object. And really, if you just double down on what works, it will do more for you than anything else. That's why I brought it up with you. You could double your revenue and your profit would go up even more just by doubling down on how you got to where you are today. And that's the case for a lot of people in this room. Most of my coaching is focusing people. It's getting them undistracted to focus right back on where they were. And how do I know it works? Because I was the problem. I was a shiny object guy. It went all over the place. And then when I focused it back on Amazon, you guys saw it from 2018 to 19, we went from $0 profit to $600,000 profit. So double down on what works. And then my favorite part. So a lot of you guys know how multiples work, but for those that don't, when you're $1 million in EBITDA or less, your multiple is going to be around a 3x. That's pretty much typically the case, especially in today's. It changes by market, it changes by niche, it changes by everything. But in e-commerce, for the most part, $1 million or less is a 3x multiple. As you increase your EBITDA, your profit, your multiple increases as well. So my multiple in year 2 at 1.3 million is a 3x multiple. So let's just, for simplicity's sake, let's just say we're at $1 million. If we sell $1 million profit company, we'll get $3 million out of it. Easy enough math, right? Well, if I have $14 million in EBITDA, I can now sell for 10x multiple. And so now my profit didn't go up that much. I mean, it only went up 13 million, but I can now sell for 140 million over here. Whereas in over here, I was only selling for 3 million. So 3x multiple on this side of the timeline versus a 10x multiple on this side of the timeline. And so by acquiring, you can build up your EBITDA to a higher level to then be able to sell at a higher multiple. So in year 10, I said 10 brands, 10 million in EBITDA in 10 years. But in year 10, we might buy 10 brands if we have the cash to do so. Because we can buy $10 million brands for $30 million, flip them, and then sell them for $100 million. Just by putting them into our portfolio because of the roll-up. Now you want to have the synergies still, but that's how this whole thing works. That's why you've probably heard people talk about roll-ups. Because when you roll up brands together and you have a higher profit number, you sell for a 10x multiple versus this 3x multiple. Does anybody know like the Titan network? Titan like switched their whole model to this like a couple of years ago, and their valuation has gone through the roof as a result. And you don't see them as much promoting like the community. They still have the community, but they're focused on roll-ups. And I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's what they're doing now is they're rolling up companies together and then selling them for a bigger multiple as a result of not just the 3x multiple. Because this is what individual solopreneurs are doing. And then if you team up with a bunch of entrepreneurs to get your multiple up to that, then you can sell for a 10x versus a 3x. And that's it. It's not hard. It's not
complex.
Thank you. It's not complex. It is hard, but it's simple. It really is. And when like I saw this, I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense. And I saw it in action with my private equity firm that I worked for. And that's all they do is they just buy brands over and over. And I think I was the 8th brand they bought. I think they're up to 16 brands now, and they'll sell next year. And so that's that's it. And that's what Deacon Justice and I are working on. So, call to action for you guys. If you guys want to get involved with this, we have our podcast. We bought a brand Now What. Follow along with that. Get it on Apple. It's fun. It's just Deacon Justice and I talking. And then if you're an investor, you can come talk to us. Because if you're an accredited investor, we might raise funds. We don't know yet. But we might raise funds someday. So if you're interested in that, let us know. And then if you're interested in selling your company to us, talk to us. We're here for you.
Hey, I wanted to thank you for watching this video, and I picked out another video just for you. So make sure you check out that other video. And what do they need to do? Do they need to like and subscribe? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content.